You can grab my headsets. Cool. Well, hello and good morning, upstate South Carolina. Welcome to the Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. I almost made it through saying hello before my lungs decided to attack. Hi, everybody. Welcome in. Great to have you. Happy Thursday. Back half of the week underway right here on the Fan Upstate. My name is Rob Brown. I am, of course, as always, joined on the other side of the metaphorical glass this AM by the gentleman in charge of the radio broadcast. If you like it, he gets all the credit. If you hate it, he takes all of the blame, the alpha and the omega of the Fan Upstate. He is the content cash cow, the conductor of the symphony of sound. That is the Rob Brown Show. Hashtag Dad Kicks. And maybe his proudest moniker of all, Colonel Grudge himself. The great Malonzo's here. What up, Zoe?
Well, if you're looking on the stream, we got new blinds and you won't be able to tell.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now.
So experiment over, I'm thinking, but I mean, that's entirely up to you.
I don't know. So we're playing with the stream, right? Like, let's be real. Like it or hate it, this line of business is taking a shift towards the digital, right? Like every radio dude and dudette that you know is being pushed to increase their digital presence. We just all are. And it's not just sports. It is every broadcasting industry. We're all being pushed to go digital. And
face for radio doesn't work anymore.
No, it does not. You have to be, and this is what I've told every young gun that's tried to enter this industry from the beginning when they're like, what should I do to be as successful as you are, Rob Brown? And my answer is you got to learn to be a triple threat nowadays, right? You got to be able to learn, you got to be able to talk, but you've got to be able to write, and you've got to be able to go in front of a camera and be entertaining on the air as well. So anyway, all of the studios here at the Palatial Odyssey building are beginning to move towards being stream centered. So yesterday they put some nice blackout blinds here in the upstairs building so that we could have a better look on stream. I mean, they help a little bit. They darken it up, but I'm looking at the stream now and it doesn't even look like there's blinds there.
Right. You can
stream blinds.
I guess. I mean, so you can see right through them. I think that's kind of cool. I don't know if it's a sniper deterrent, possibly. If you're on the outside trying to look in, maybe.
I'm going to go ahead and hope that's irrelevant. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that don't like us, but I hope not.
Well,
quite that much.
By us, you mean collectively. But yes, I get it. But there are many, as someone who plays video games quite a bit, Rob, you know that there are many sniper points in the area. And now maybe this is a deterrent. Now maybe they can't see. But the fact that the cameras will pretend like the blinds aren't there, if someone's looking through a scope, I wonder if it does the same thing. I mean, that's just where my mind goes. What can I say?
Why?
I don't know.
Why is your first thought, wow, these blinds are really sniper friendly?
I don't know.
Me either.
You talk about going into a restaurant or something and knowing where all the exits are and things like that. Well, I just take it one step further.
That's true. I do that. You are not incorrect. Ladies and gentlemen,
what has anyone ever said on the station that would cause them, someone to hate to the point where, you'd have to worry about something like that? I don't know.
I hope nothing ever.
I've seen people escorted into this building by the FBI. So not for this station, but still. Yeah.
Okay,
so,
fairness.
Yeah.
You have seen a soon-to-be president of the United
No.
States.
No. I've seen hosts
escorted into the building by the FBI.
Yeah, because of death threats. And I was pretty upset about it because I didn't get an escort. The hosts of the show, they got an escort. they tell me after the fact, oh, by the way, there have been death threats. So the FBI is,
Really?
it's like, what about me? You know, I already know what you feel about the producer, but you know, I could have, you know, just an unmarked car, something out there to let me know I'm okay.
What about me? You ever heard anybody? You ever heard it talk? Have you ever heard a listener talk badly about you, not knowing that it was you?
Dude,
like
every time half the time I answer the phone, people don't realize it's me because it's a different voice on the phone.
No. I mean, like, have you ever been out in public?
Oh no,
and had somebody talking bad about you?
I don't have to worry about that because everybody knows who I am, Rob. So when I go out in public, people say there he is. I mean, you know, that's just how that works. Incognito doesn't work when you reach a certain level of fame. You'll get there someday. And it's it's debilitating to a degree.
Josh said, hey, yo, new headphones, Rob. What did you get? No, not new headphones. I just forgot mine in the studio, so I'm doing the first segment without them. We're good. We'll get through it. I trust Lonzo to run the board in a way that I don't need to hear the show to know that it's good and correct.
Yeah, I could run down the hall and get your headphones again, but you know that was a one-shot deal.
Yeah, no, I'm aware. I wasn't going to ask.
You go more than once to have
it's on me. Yeah, I know. I get it. Ladies and gentlemen, big show lined up for us on the radio broadcast today. It is Thursday, which means coming up at 9:45, we'll be joined by Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast. And, you know, there's no off season with football, right? There's no off season with football. We have been obviously very busy talking about the South Carolina Gamecocks, the Clemson Tigers. The Carolina Panthers will be no different as we have some updates, some new interviews scheduled for the head coaching position of the Carolina Panthers. We have some new, not information, but I have some new thoughts on the quarterback discussion for the Carolina Panthers. I'll get that to you coming up in a few minutes. We have got some new interviews scheduled for the head coaching position of names that I find, let's say, intriguing for the point of discussion right now, shall we? We'll get into those coming up later on the show. Coming up in the next segment, I'm intrigued by this story, and I wonder scratch that. I'm relatively sure I know what the majority of your reactions are going to be. But if you haven't heard this story, it's absolutely wild. In fact, let's go ahead and jump into it. Why not? Let's just lead off with this story. The University of Florida signed a 5-star quarterback out of California. He is not the highest touted recruited quarterback, but he's one of the top 3. Goes by the name of Jaden Rashada. Jaden Rashada was initially slated to be a signee for the University of Miami. He was down in Coral Gables for a camp. He then made his way to Gainesville, Florida, and flipped his commitment in mid-November to the Gators of Florida. He formally signed on with the Gators with a letter of intent on December 21st. But he's not there right now. This week, across the great United States, for the majority of colleges, this week has the final day for students to begin participating in classes and be eligible to receive a grade for that class. And of course, that puts the college in college football. Jaden Rashada is not in Gainesville, is not attending classes, and the news broke a little over 30 hours ago. I wanted to get to this yesterday, but we just did not have the time. The news broke that Jaden Rashada was going to be asking for a release from his letter of intent signed with the mighty Gators of Florida. Why? Because apparently the reason that Jaden Rashada initially signed with the Gators of Florida is because an NIL collective known as the Gator Collective put together an offer sheet for a $13 million name, image, and likeness deal. 13 mil to a 5-star quarterback recruit. Not a Stetson Bennett with back-to-back natties. Not a CJ Stroud. Not a Bryce Young with the Heisman. A kid coming out of high school who had never played a down of college ball was offered a $13 million NIL deal. But here's the catch. The Gator Collective, be it a collective or one rogue member within it, apparently came to the realization that, and I crunched some numbers on this. Lonzo, $13 million is, by most metrics, a boatload of money.
I would think that's the scientific term for that amount of money. Yes.
Correct. And by the way, when I say boatload, I am using the Rob Brown definition of boat in this case.
I thought you were.
Uh-huh. That is a bleep load of money. And the financial backing for a $13 million NIL deal fell through. Meaning that Jaden Rashada did not have an NIL deal at all. Except for the fact that Jaden Rashada apparently had an offer of a $9 million NIL deal at the University of Miami. So he passed on a $9 million NIL deal in order to take a $13 million NIL deal. Now, once again, Rob Brown, the nerd amongst us, has done the math on this. I have sat down and done the scientific analysis. I used some M&Ms yesterday to conduct an experiment, Lonzo, and it turns out that 13 is more than 9. He passed on a $9 million NIL deal at Miami to take a $13 million NIL deal at the University of Florida. The $13 million NIL deal at the University of Florida, where he signed his letter of intent, S. No Mas. And wouldn't you know it, Jaden Rashada has asked for a release from his national letter of intent. I would be willing to bet, Lonzo, it's because he'd really like to find out if Mario Cristobal and the Miami Hurricanes would be willing to have him back down in Coral Gables.
I think that would be a pretty good guess, even an educated guess.
I again, all things I do are educated. So anyway, his arrival in Gainesville contingent on a
says the
4-year
haughty intellectual. All things,
Haughty.
all
By the way,
things I do.
Yesterday, Captain America Chris Evans down the hall was in the office, and we were having another dork conversation, and the word haughty was actually used in our like not even making fun of Lonzo calling me haughty. We actually came across an article that used the word haughty. I felt very good about it. Very good about it.
You felt a kinship with the article.
writer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well,
Yeah.
he was like, you know, people refer to me as haughty. And I'm like, yeah, I understand the struggle, my guy. I get it. I understand. Anyway, Jaden Rashada, after the financial backing for the $13 million NIL deal in Gainesville fell through, is now asking for a release from his national letter of intent in order to make his way back down to the University of Miami, I assume. Now, there's a lot that could go on with this, but the aspect that intrigues me the greatest is that there are college football writers. In fact, ESPN has an article up about this that say there could technically and justifiably be a lawsuit involved here from Rashada's family against the Gator Collective if he is not released from his national letter of intent, although I suspect Florida will go ahead and let him go because, as I've said many times, if a kid's going to leave your program over NIL money, don't you want him gone anyway? Right? If it's more, if you are of the mindset that NIL is bad because you want Buckeyes who want to be Buckeyes and Noles who want to be Noles and Tigers who want to be Tigers and Gators who want to be Gators and Gamecocks who want to be Gamecocks. And you find out that a kid is only rocking your colors because of NIL. He's not committed to being the best mascot he can be, but is there to make the dollar bills, y'all. Wouldn't you take the opportunity to disassociate him from your franchise if it was presented? So I suspect Florida cuts this kid, says, you know what? Later. Adios. But if they do not release him from his NIL, if he is forced to be a Gator or be nothing at all for the first year of his career, and it cost him some NIL scrap, it is a possibility that a lawsuit could be filed against the Gator Collective. I cannot say that this would be the first lawsuit issued against an NIL collective because I don't know if it is or if it is not. What I can say is that I'm very intrigued to find out. What I can say is that I'm very interested in what that lawsuit would look like. I'm very interested to see if that lawsuit went through and the family of Rashada was to say, hey, you cost us $9 million, right? We could have signed on the dotted line with the Canes and had $9 million in the bank over 4 years. But you lied to us and breached the contract and cost us not the $4 million difference between the 9 and 13, but 9 overall, depending on if he got any other NIL deals from Florida at all. Although I suspect he ain't getting one for $9 million, at least not at this point. I wonder what that lawsuit would look like. And more importantly, it would conclude a point that I have been giving you guys since NIL came into play in the first place. At some point, just like everything else, ideally, there is a market cap. There is a market for NIL value. I don't know what it is. I don't know how much we can expect college football players to get in NIL money. Obviously, unless there was going to be a similar situation at the University of Miami, a 5-star quarterback can go for $9 million of NIL money, right? So, this lawsuit, if it comes through, if it happens, would do one thing, I think. This lawsuit would, in theory, be a massive indicator of where the NIL market is. What is the NIL market worth? If they can go and get the full $13 million out of the Gator Collective, if Florida doesn't release him from his scholarship, from his NIL, if they can get the full $13 million, it's going to be a lot of laissez-faire type impact on the NIL. There's going to be a lot of impact on NIL because you're going to be looking at collectives that start going, we better make sure we have funding in place before we offer NIL deals. We can't just throw out dollar bills as a recruiting tool anymore. We better make damn sure that we got the bankroll to support what we offer. It is absolutely going to drive some of the market value down because if the lawsuit comes through and it becomes one entity versus another in court, NIL collectives are going to have to start CYAing themselves to prevent themselves from becoming the next NIL collective that has litigation rolled out against them. This story to me is without question the most compelling NIL story since the beginning of NIL. You have a kid who has just been cost millions of dollars by a collective that is not being overseen or monitored by the NCAA. There is now going to be, because think about it, if you're the University of Michigan or Ohio State or Georgia, you are now very aware of the impact that an NIL collective can have on your program, right? You now know that if an NIL collective throws some money out that you have not seen, heard of, approved of, et cetera, you might lose a big name recruit because of it. You might have a recruit say, deuces, I'm out later. Bye, Felicia. I'm gone. Why? Because $13 million is a life-changing amount of money. $9 million is a life-changing amount of money. This is going to have a major impact because now schools have to look at these collectives that mostly work with the schools, but are not directly controlled by them. Schools now have to look at these collectives and go, you have the power to cost us 5-star quarterbacks and the power to be sued into oblivion and potentially bring the school in as a co-defendant, which would be bad, I think. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk more about this. I want your thoughts. We got a few texts coming in already on the text line at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N. We'll read them on the air. Phone line's open, 844-326-3663. Want your thoughts on this story as it continues to develop. Rashad Beard coming up in about 20 minutes. We'll talk Panther football with him. And at 11:20, it's Thursday. You know what that means. Fight Club with Lonzo. That's all coming down the pipe on the Rob Brown Show. And the Fan Upstate. Got a live read, kids. Be right back. All right, dudes and dudettes. Let's see if I can figure out how to make this thing work.
like to go to the South Pole? How do some animals change color? Can you
I can't because I don't have batteries.
That's dangerous
Cool.
You unmuted, but you didn't take it off the.
Oh, JK. Oh, look, there we are. Hi, everybody.
I've got questions. We go through all these things we're curious about, and some stuff you probably don't expect.
Yo, strawberries are not even fruits at all.
So, what are they? I've got questions. New episodes Thursdays on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Golfers, the best upstate deal on golf is back and on sale now. The 2023 Upstate Golf Card gets you a round of golf at 9 premier upstate courses, and it's still only $99. Grab your foursome and get your Upstate Golf Cards now to play courses including the Preserve and Verde, Legacy Pines, Pebble Creek, Greer Golf, Carolina Springs, and more. Order at theupstategolfcard.com. 9 rounds of golf for only
Joe, I don't know, honestly, and I probably should. But I don't know what NLI's, like what levity they have in court, right? Like if they went to a lawsuit and said an NLI is not a hard contract, I don't know if that'd hold up or not, frankly. I need to do some research on that. Because I know it goes both ways, right? Like the NLI says from the athlete to the school, I'm committed to your school, and you basically forfeit your right to get financial aid, scholarship to play anywhere else. But on the flip side, an NLI also requires the school to hold a scholarship for that player. If you sign an NLI, your scholarship is held by the school. Join us on the Facebook stream, facebook.com/thefanupstate, or search and subscribe to The Rob Brown Show on either YouTube or Twitch. We stream every single minute of the show live every single day, and would love for you guys to help us grow that community. We want more folks up in here participating with the show. Not only do you get to hear the entire 3 hours of the radio broadcast, but you get to go behind the scenes during the breaks, interact with Lonzo and I when we are off the air, and have conversations off the air that we do not have on it. Now, in the stream, my man Joey B popped up. Joey B popped in and said, honestly, Florida should just let him go. I don't think those letters of intent would hold up in court, and a lawsuit that got them struck down would be catastrophic for the NCAA and cause chaos for college sports. I'm going to start, Joey B. Not that I need to speak to Lonzo or for Lonzo, but I'm going to guess that a lot of folks in that camp are going to say NIL and the portal have already caused chaos in college sports. You're going to get that.
How dare you speak for me? I don't like it when people speak for me, you know, in person, on the air, or on Twitter.
That's fair.
Yes.
But am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
Okay. All right. That's really what I was
The
concerned
chaos is already here. I mean, are there different levels of chaos? Absolutely. There are different levels of chaos, and a lawsuit would take it to a different level. But the main thing is, you know, how can a school be involved in an NIL lawsuit when schools are not supposed to be involved in NIL?
I will say that is the problem here, is that this collective is not affiliated with the school, right?
Allegedly.
The school is not affiliated, and this is part of what intrigues me about this whole thing. Part of what intrigues me about this whole thing is that I wonder, to some degree, I wonder if a lawsuit comes down could the school end up being involved? Could it be argued that the collective represents the school even if there is not an official partnership on the table? And I don't know what the answer to that is. Now, the main topic of conversation here is going to be the national letter of intent. The NLI signed by the player, in this case, Jaden Rashada of California. An NLI is signed by a student athlete who commits to entering a four-year institution for the first time in the academic year after they sign the NLI. Recruits who have signed NLIs must attend the school that they have signed with in order to receive financial aid. And NCAA rules forbid coaches from recruiting them further. These restrictions aim to add certainty to the recruiting process for players and coaches. By contrast, oral commitments are non-binding, which is why you hear the term a non-verbal commitment versus a verbal commitment. If a kid says, hey, I'm going to Georgia, he's not obligated to go to Georgia. If a kid signs an NLI with Georgia, now he is obligated to go to Georgia. Now, here is what I would find interesting. And again, I am going to be 100% straight with you. I got a lot of research to do on NLIs because something like this has never popped up on my radar before. So I've never really been, I know what the general NLI concept is. I've never read one. I've never seen one. And I don't know what court-issued protocols, rules are in place around them. Here's a thought that popped in my head. If this kid has a 4-year, $9 million NIL deal on the table with the University of Miami, and he breaks his NIL with Florida, right? He just doesn't go there. The NIL is designed to tell the school, hey, this kid is definitely coming here, right? He's not going to pull the plug on you the day before fall camp starts and just not show up and go play for your rival. And on the student side, the NIL is designed to hold the scholarship for the kid. Once you've signed the NIL, your scholarship is held by the university, right? So if all this thing does is hold a scholarship for this kid, could he just break the NIL, go to Miami, get the $9 million deal, and pay for his own schooling out of pocket because my cat's going to be scratching 1.7 mil every year in NIL money or whatever, 2.7 mil every year, whatever it is? I don't know. That's why this story is so damn interesting. Recruits who have signed NLIs must attend the schools they have signed with in order to receive financial aid, not legally must attend that school. Could he just break it, go to Miami, catch a $9 million NIL deal, and pay for college out of his own pocket? It ain't like he's going to be short on paper with a $9 million 4-year deal. By the way, if anyone would like to offer me a $9 million 4-year deal, I will sign it doing whatever the hell you want me to do. No problem. Let's take a break. When we come back, my guy Rashad Beard is in the house. We got a lot of Carolina Panther football to get through. We got head coaching interviews that have been set up. I will see if I can sell Rashad on 1 year of Sean Payton and Tom Brady.
Stop it.
I'm going to see if I can sell him. I think I can. We'll do that when we come back. We'll talk about some of the other names that have popped up on the head coaching radar and a whole lot more when we come back on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
Just gotta say, the blinds being down are really bothering me.
Why?
I think it makes the day look dark and dismal.
It is dark and dismal.
Yeah, but not like this. I mean, all you're seeing is morbid shadows and things, and it just it
Well, I'm in heart when you want.
yeah, that must be what it
I'm
is.
emo
You know,
heart.
the sun that shines in my heart.
Yeah, not me.
It's trying to be tamped down
Icy
by your
darkness.
blinds.
Icy darkness. Rashad, what's up, young man? How we doing?
What's going on, man?
How you doing, partner?
Hanging in there.
Heard that. God, I hope this goes away.
It just won't. It just lingers.
It just
yeah.
I talked to Lane Fowler, the guy that did color for Burns this year. He's the head basketball coach over there. I called him last night to get their schedule because I want to go to a game or two. Him and Sam, the sideline guy, both had the same thing.
Yeah.
Head coach Shaw had the same thing. Everybody's got it or is getting it. Rashad, you been sick at all the last 2 weeks?
No, I got sick a little bit when I came back from Canada.
Yeah.
But I'm good. I don't get sick too often.
Yeah, you don't want this. It's
No, it
I'm
sucks.
good.
It kicked my ass thoroughly.
I did lose 12 pounds though. So I mean,
I lost 8.
yeah. So I mean, there's
That's
that.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
All sweat. It was disgusting. I've never washed so many bed sheets in my life.
Yeah, it's not a good feeling waking up feeling like you're sleeping in soup.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not.
Steven said his daughter was just diagnosed with the flu. I don't think it was the flu
It's
that I had.
it's definitely
It
something.
felt like it.
I don't know.
I mean, it may have been a strain of it. I don't think it was, but my fever got up over 100, threatened 101. I could not stop sweating. But like that was really it. That and the chills. Like that was it. I never really felt like bad,
Yeah, coughing though. You forgot about
Yeah,
the
that won't
coughing because
stop.
you're still doing that. So
which is not great for
And-
a
and I
talk
just-
radio host.
just food in general. is
I
just
was not
like,
hungry at all.
Yeah. And as a result of it going around the building, I probably will be here till 7 today. I'm so excited.
Not me. I got a lunch at 1.
And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Granger, offering professional grade industrial supplies.
I don't know if you were signed up for the training.
I am
but,
at
okay.
1:30.
I thought it was 2:30.
I hope it's 2:30. 2:30 would be better for me.
Hope we're not being trained separately. Where's the fun in that?
All right, here we go. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. It's Thursday. And on Thursday, we talk Panther football. Well, we talk Panther football pretty much every day. But on Thursdays, we talk it with my guy, Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast, available on YouTube. Go find them, search, subscribe for Panther Nation podcast. Make sure that you are locked in and you hit that notification icon so that you get alerted when Rashad and Rody go live, which is like a lot. And I suspect as we inch ever closer to the 2023 NFL draft, and as of right now, the Panthers sitting with a fistful of picks, that will be more and more frequently. Rashad, what's up, fella?
What's going on, guys?
How we
Good
doing?
to be here. Yeah, all is well. All is well.
Glad to hear it, man. All right, let's get into it. And listen, I do not want our 14 minutes together to be spent entirely on this conversation, but I do have to bring it up.
No, you don't. You absolutely do not have to bring it up.
Lonzo hates this. All right, hates it with a passion and fire of 1,000 suns. He hates this. Rashad, Peyton and Brady, 1 year, and here's why. It lines up. All right, it lines up. Everything that Panther fans have told me they wanted a head coach, an offensive mind, a guy with a track record of success, etc. There were some candidates I liked. Ben Johnson, the Detroit offensive coordinator, was one of them, right? He's off the table. Sean Payton is every one of those qualifications. And on top of that, while Mickey Loomis is saying he wants 2 first-rounders for Sean Payton, which is in line with what the Buccaneers traded John Gruden for a number of years ago, I frankly don't think he's going to get that because I don't think, but there's maybe 2 teams that are real serious about getting Sean Payton, those being Denver and potentially the Carolina Panthers. So I think you're looking at it first and then maybe like a mid-rounder next year. And on top of that, this is the point about quarterback. Tom Brady is going to be looking to play for somebody who knows how to mastermind an offense to give him a genuine shot at one more like he had under Bruce Arians. That's Sean Payton. They very clearly have been willing to work together in the past because before all the tampering stuff dropped, at one point, the Saints were the odds-on favorite for Brady's next team after he left New England before he ended up in Tampa Bay. Sean Payton being there was that reason. And the dude for Carolina at quarterback, not a dude, the dude ain't on the table right now. Unless you believe it's Derek Carr, which I don't think any of us do, the dude at quarterback ain't on the table. So you get in Brady 1 year to allow you to find who the dude, not a dude, is going to be to take over that spot. And if Tep is serious about pushing for relevance next year, Brady can make you more relevant for 1 year while you search for QB of the future, but it is a package deal with Sean Payton. Why are you not pulling the trigger on that?
I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense, right? And I've been on record saying, hey, whatever it takes to get me a Super Bowl, right? I just want one. Like, you get me one that gets in the conversation. So I've been on record saying that. But I do have question marks around Brady. Like, he does not look the best, right? I mean, you go back and look at that last game against the Cowboys. Not too good for Brady. He hasn't looked great. And he's got there was a lot of weapons. So you look at what he was surrounded with in Tampa and look what he could potentially be surrounded around in Carolina. Do you think he could be that much better? Maybe you can look at Leftwich and say, hey, that maybe I feel like Leftwich was a little bit of a scapegoat there because, again, he did take them to the Super Bowl and they got a Super Bowl victory under Leftwich calling the plays. And I do feel like Leftwich a little bit of scapegoated there. But I don't know that the situation would be that much better than in Carolina than what he had in Tampa. The defense was great. I don't know. It sounds good. It sounds good on paper, but I just don't know. I don't know if it'll work out.
Here's why it would. The one thing that you have to, if you followed Tampa football, acknowledge is that their offensive line was decimated with injuries this year. Decimated with injuries. He will definitely be playing behind a better offensive line in Carolina than he was in Tampa. Second, while Leftwich, I agree with you, was a scapegoat for the failure of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year, and I absolutely think we can label it a failure. They also did switch from Bruce Arians at the head coaching position to Todd Bowles, a defensive coordinator. Sean Payton is an offensive mastermind. And by the way, if Payton comes, the reports are he brings Vic Fangio with him as the defensive coordinator. And if you're telling me you don't want Vic Fangio as your DC, I'm going to call you a liar to your face, right? So the defense stays good with better coaching. You get an offensive-minded coach and one that Brady wants to work for. Legitimately, and by the way, and I did this yesterday on the show, while he is 46 years old, Tom Brady was better than Derek Carr, who had Devontae Adams, was better than Derek Carr in every single quarterback static. He had better completion percentage. He had over 1,000 more yards. He had more touchdowns. He had fewer interceptions. He had more big plays. The only spot Brady didn't shine was the Buccaneers did not convert a play on third down longer than 3rd and 11 this year, but I can put that within the struggles of the offense as a whole, right? Every offensive statistic, Brady was better than Derek Carr, and Derek Carr is the only other name that I'm being heard floated as a potential candidate in Carolina. There's literally no argument against this right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's convincing. It is convincing, and I think that I don't know, man. You're making it sound really good. You're right. You're right about the offensive line thing. Tampa's offensive line was pretty bad. They were decimated with injuries, and Tom needs to be protected. He hates pressure. He can't.
And
operate
he's
under pressure.
46.
And he's 46 years old. Yeah. So, but he's Tom Brady at the end of the day, and I don't know. I think it's possible, man. I think it's possible. You're making it sound good. I haven't put a lot of thought into it, and I think you're making it sound good.
And you know what? You shouldn't put a lot. Don't put a lot of thought in this. It's far fetched. It's just he says he's not a shock jock. This is the most shock jock thing he's ever done. There's no way Tom Brady is coming to the Carolina Panthers.
I got it all lined up. I'm just saying.
I think it's plausible, man. I think
I'm just
Sean
saying.
Payton. Sean Payton here, anything can happen.
I want my shout out on the Panther Nation podcast.
I
want it.
I'm going to go one further than the things that I've been saying. Okay, so if Tom Brady comes to the Carolina Panthers during Rashad's segment, I will not be in the room. I'm like I said, put my stuff away. I'm done. I am done until he's gone.
All right, let's get to some other stuff. We know that Ben Johnson, the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator, apparently was the non-Sean Payton front runner for the gig in Carolina. David Tepper, from reports, was enamored with him, but he yesterday or the day before announced that he is going to stay in Detroit for one more year. Either A, because he is really on board with what Dan Campbell is building in Detroit, which I think was the surprise in the NFL this year, or B, because he looked at the jobs that are open. And I've said this a couple of times, this crop of head coaching jobs, I honestly think, with the exception of Carolina, this crop of head coaching jobs this year sucks. Denver, you're stuck with Russell Wilson's bloated contract. Kyler Murray is an ego monster. Jim Irsay has shown that he is too damn much of a head case to run the Colts successfully. It's a bad crop of head coaching jobs with the exception of Carolina, in my opinion. So it makes sense he would want to stick around in Detroit where they're on an upward trajectory one more year. But the case is, Rashad, we still got to have a head coach. So if it's not Sean Payton, who's your front runner right now?
Yeah, I would think that it has to be Wilks at this point. I think Wilks has to be the front runner. Now, you got to listen to what Greg Olsen said yesterday. Greg Olsen is kind of doing some hypotheticals as well, saying, hey, maybe if I can get Frank Reich as my offensive coordinator, you can bring him in, who we interviewed as a head for the head coach position. And then you can also potentially bring in Vic Fangio as a defensive coordinator. That's also a dream scenario, a secondary dream scenario. And now you got a lot of experience. You got a lot of good guys. Vic Fangio, defensive coordinator, I want it. As soon as they said it and he interviewed, I got to have it. So if we can somehow manage to get that, that would be great. I think our defense would turn around immediately. I know we've had some issues, but Vic Fangio is a great defensive mind. And I think you pair him with any offensive head coach, I think it's going to be a good mesh there. So, but I think the front runner has to be Wilks. I think you look at everybody else has their flaws. And I think if Wilks presented a good offensive plan, and he goes out and get a Frank Reich or somebody else, I think Wilks has to be the front runner.
So is Steve Wilks, and I know you just kind of answered this a little bit, but I'll ask you to go one step further with it. If Steve Wilks is going to be guy, and I've made the argument that Wilks has one thing going for him that I think is priority number one for a head coach, which is he has built a locker room that has got his back, ride or die. Is it a requirement if Steve Wilks gets the job that he comes along with grabbing a top tier offensive coordinator if there's not one of those available, right? Like if you just got to go promote an assistant somewhere to his first OC job, does Wilks lose a little bit of that luster to you?
Yeah, I think he's got to get an offensive mind. That's been the problem around here for the longest time. Like we need to get a great offensive mind, whether it's somebody with experience, doesn't have to be one of these young guys. But like I said, Frank Reich, if you can go in there and get a guy like him, who I believe is a great offensive coordinator, maybe not the best head coach, but offensive coordinator is pretty solid. So I would go out and get a Frank Reich. He cannot come out here with an average guy. He has to present a very good. And here's the thing. I've said this 1,000 times. When you go out and you get a young offensive mind, let's say it's Brian Johnson, the quarterback coach from Detroit. Let's say it's him, right? 2 years from now, if the offense is guns a-blazing, he's going to get hired elsewhere, which is the problem with not hiring an offensive mind for your head coach, right? They're gonna get snatched from you, which is why I was all in on Ben Johnson. He was my guy, and so I just think, yeah, you got to have a good plan, but you also got to future-proof yourself. So that's why I think Frank Reich, who is probably not going to get plucked as a offensive a head coach anytime soon due to what he did with the Colts, I think he got to be the guy.
I don't hate it. Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast, joins us every Thursday here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Before we let you go, my guy, did you win your popcorn battle last week? Did we pull through?
Yeah, we did. I appreciate everybody's support. I did win, and I appreciate everybody because I lost last year by, I think, a couple $100. This time I won by a couple $100. So I appreciate everybody's support on the popcorn fundraiser.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it. And I will go ahead and tell you right now that when you pull the video of my rundown on Brady and why he's the guy next year, and you put it on Panther Nation podcast, just make sure you get my good side, Rashad.
Yeah, I promise you, if your scenario happens verbatim, I will post you all over Panther Nation podcast for being Nostradamus over here, and you will get all the shine. But we'll see. We'll see if it happens.
I love it. One day I will earn my spot.
Yeah,
with the PNP.
Don't count on that happening anytime soon because he's not coming.
I'm just saying. He meets with Peyton tomorrow. We'll see if the check gets scratched. Rashad, my guy, appreciate you, buddy. Next week we'll be talking about it.
Yeah. All right, you calling it. We'll see what happens.
Rashad Beard. Make sure you search and subscribe to the Panther Nation podcast on YouTube. Give them a follow on Twitter as well at Panther Nation PC. Rashad, we'll talk to you next week, big fella. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
There you go. That's Rashad Beard. We are back after this for hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. Oh, I was not expecting Chris to be standing right there when I said I have to go get some batteries from Chris. I think I just need 2. Okay. Thank you very much. I don't want to.
You think it's funny, but the rest of the day is ruined now. Because
that throws me off my game.
He'll be jumpy the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. Yes, he'll be jumpy the rest of it. It's
100%. I wish it wasn't. Like it's not something that I find funny or gimmicky. Like when that happens to me, as it does frequently, when that happens to me and I get jump scared, it stays with me for a while. The adrenaline spike is no joke. I prefer doing things the hard way, Chris. It's plastic. It's meant to be broken. It is a ring light for the stream because obviously I need people to see this monstrosity.
He could also just take his hat off. He could do that. Yeah, that's just. I mean, then suddenly there's what?
Studios are not set up specifically for streaming.
And since someone doesn't like natural lighting, decide to put the blinds down, which still are bothering me.
For the record, I like the blinds.
I don't. It serves no purpose. It's not a sunny day, and even if it was, the sun won't be on our side of the building till we're out of here.
It does serve a purpose. It creates better lighting for the stream.
It's better for the environment, Mr. Guy. Yeah. It's better for the environment.
Lighting is better.
Natural lighting's better for the environment. You'd think you would at least.
It's dark outside.
It's not dark out. It's dark in here thanks to the blinds.
No, it's dark outside.
Tell me you did the same thing that someone who shall remain nameless, LexCorp. You broke my stuff. Just turn it back.
Turn it off. I did not buy the wall. You just have to find where the right light goes. No. I expected different.
Why? No, you didn't. You did not expect anything different from him. If anything, you should expect it worse.
I will tell you the same thing that I told a particular operations manager, which is that the whole point of a ring light is that the camera goes inside the ring.
I am aware of that. If you can help me figure out a way to make this happen without this being in the way of my computer screen, which I'm required to look at,
Yeah.
then that will be a much easier
It doesn't
process.
look to me like that camera is going to fit in that light,
Yeah, I don't think it will either.
I mean, that camera,
which could mean that you got the wrong light.
Yeah, you could possibly have gotten the wrong light.
because it doesn't have that's okay. I just need a light. All right.
Thank you, Joseph. You're right. Natural light is always more welcome.
No, it doesn't. But I don't need it to because I'm a basic. I'm basic.
Just clip it to your hat.
Well,
Just clip it to your hat.
now I want to see that. I want to see you with that light
Around.
clipped to the brim of your head. Was it like straight in your face?
I need both of you. Trying to
Underlighting. Yeah,
trying to
that's
do something for the
a good
betterment
choice.
of the station here. I know it makes me look haunted now.
That's
not-
okay. Well, that has more to do with the color of the light.
Then the
If it was more
blinds
like
might,
this color-
have something
yeah,
to do with it.
I think I need to just bring the. I have at the house the same one that Mark has on his desk, and it works great.
Yeah.
So I
what
may
was
just
that,
have to get a
Lonzo?
second
Did
one.
you have a clock? Was that 2.5 minutes?
Maybe a little bit less. Coming to realizations, however long they
Really
take.
like you.
Yes.
As Lonzo can attest, if I didn't like you, I wouldn't make this much fun of you.
So glad it was all on stream too.
I do it for the entertainment.
It's working. It's certainly
It's gonna have it.
me.
Yeah, I can tell.
I'm gonna go back and watch this later. I'm gonna show it to my wife later.
That's where I put it, just right in the middle of my computer screen. Unbelievable.
You're gonna have fun reading later. That's gonna be awesome.
Unbelievable.
Let me know if you need more batteries.
Thanks, buddy. Joey B, my guy. Natty Light is always welcome. I mean, I also went to college. Correct.
Also, he wasn't talking about actual natural light. He was talking about alcohol. My brain doesn't go there. So I didn't get it.
Skrilla, I will go look at that in a minute. There is somewhere this can go. I think I have it, but I have to wait till the next break. Ladies and gentlemen, you are getting a very special behind-the-scenes look at how production in this radio
He's
station.
going to break something. That's what's going to happen.
I'm going to clip it onto the stand here, and then it should come straight out. Theoretically, told you there's a solution. I'm not a problems guy. I'm a solutions guy.
Mm-hmm.
The Rob Brown Show, hour number 2, gets underway right now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rob and Lonzo and you. Be a part of the radio broadcast by texting us at 71307. 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N. Can also give us a buzz on the phone line. 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663, 844-326-3663. If you want to come at us in that direction, you are welcome to do it there as well. We'd love to have you. Let's real quick finish up this discussion about the story that is developing down in Gainesville, Florida. Jaden Rashada, a 5-star quarterback recruit out of California. For those of you that missed the opening of the show, let me reset it for you real quick so you know where we're coming from. Jaden Rashada is a 5-star quarterback out of California. Jaden Rashada had a verbal commitment with the Hurricanes of Miami. He also had, I'm sure very much connected, a $9 million 4-year NIL deal established with an NIL collective in Coral Gables. Jaden Rashada went to a passing camp at Miami, then left, and back in November of last year, after that camp, suddenly flipped his commitment away from the Canes and to the Gators of Florida. Why? Well, that's because the Gator Collective, an NIL collective based in Gainesville, the Gator Collective offered Rashada a $13 million 4-year NIL. And again, I am a bit of a scientist myself. And so yesterday, I took 13 M&Ms and I set them on a table, and then I took 9 M&Ms and I set 9 M&Ms on the other side of the table, and I can tell you through scientific analysis that 13 is more than 9. And in fact, if you'd like to deep dive the data, Lonzo, it is 4 more than 9.
I'm just curious if you ate the M&Ms.
Obviously. Be a perfectly good waste of M&Ms if I
And
didn't.
this is why you're going to lose the contest.
Peanut butter M&Ms,
because
by
of
the way.
science.
I made that up. I did not sit around counting M&Ms yesterday, Lonzo. Did not sit around counting candy. I could have. I miss M&Ms. I miss peanut butter M&Ms are the GOAT M&Ms, right? I tried the brownie M&Ms. Overrated. I'm a big brownie and fudge guy, but the brownie M&Ms are just not that good. I did see the other day, I thought,
Have you tried the pretzel M&Ms?
I'm not a big hard pretzel guy. I don't understand hard pretzels.
The pretzels inside of it, they're not hard. They're
I'd just
soft.
rather have chocolate than chocolate wrapped around something that's not good.
I'm not saying it was great or anything, but it's all right.
Not a hard pretzel guy. Anyway, the Gator Collective offered him a $13 million contract. So he walked back his verbal agreement to the University of Miami. And then back in December of last year, he signed a national letter of intent to play for the Gators of Florida in Gainesville, Florida. Well, since he signed his NLI, the Gator Collective saw the funding for a $13 million NIL deal fall apart, which means there is not a $13 million NIL deal on the table for Jaden Rashada. There is a critical piece of information missing here, which is, okay, what was available, if anything, to Jaden Rashada? Was there a $9 million deal that could have been made available? Was there a $5 million deal? Was there a deal made available after the $13 million deal fell apart? We do not, at least I've been able to find, have that information yet. Jaden Rashada has since requested the Gators, who, by the way, very much need help at the quarterback position. Last year's starter, Anthony Richardson, is in the NFL draft. Backup Jalen Kitna has been arrested on charges of possession of child pornography. They also had Emory Jones and Carlos Del Rio Wilson transfer out of Gainesville. Florida has right now on the roster Wisconsin transfer Graham Mertz, Jack Miller III. They were trying to land Walker Howard, the LSU transfer, but he has since signed with Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. The Gators have 2 scholarship quarterbacks right now. One of them a transfer, one of them a young man. So this would have been a big get for them. So Jaden Rashada has asked out of his national letter of intent. And the question mark is going to be, if Florida refuses to let him out of the the NLI, if they refuse to let him out of the NLI, could there be a lawsuit involved? Lonzo, I would be willing to say that if I had an agreement with somebody and then they cost me somewhere between $9 and $13 million, I would sue the pants off of that person.
Yeah, I could see why you or me or anybody would do that, because that's a lot of money.
Correct. If I had $13 million and someone cost me $13 million, I would sue the pants off of them.
Unless that someone was Vegas, and then it would be your fault.
Fair enough. If someone screwed me over $9 million or $13 million, and if I had $26 million and someone screwed me over $13 million, I'd still sue them.
Let's face it, if you had $1 million, you'd sue them.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see if there's any litigation that comes out of this. Jaden Rashada could very much make the argument that, hey, I said I was coming to the University of Florida under the arrangement that there was a $13 million NIL deal. But here's the thing. This is why it is interesting. Jaden Rashada made the agreement for a $13 million NIL deal with the Gator Collective, not the University of Florida. Jaden Rashada signed his national letter of intent to the University of Florida. Technically, the University of Florida hasn't done anything wrong here, unless it comes out that they arranged the meeting or whatever violation of the very loose NIL rules are.
See, that's the thing. If connection is found, that's where the real problem happens.
But as of right now, it has not been, or at least not been reported on by any journalists that has happened. So he signed a deal with the University of Florida, a national letter of intent to come play football there. He did so because of the contract, or at least verbal contract, that he had with the Gator Collective for a $13 million NIL deal. That party walked back the $13 million deal. The problem is he still signed the contract, the NLI, with the University of Florida. Florida, I think, and I am not an attorney, nor did I stay in a Holiday Inn Express last night, but Florida, I think, could very well say to Jaden Rashada, hey, dude, you didn't make that deal with us. Your reason for signing the NLI with the University of Florida is irrelevant. We don't care about the $13 million deal. It had nothing to do with us. You signed a contract, an NLI, with us. We intend for you to honor that or not play anywhere this year. Now, would Florida be that vindictive? I don't know. As I've stated many times in the past, if a kid don't want to be here, I don't want him here, right? I say that about every entity I'm involved with. If you do not want to be a part of this thing, then get the hell out. I don't care how talented you are. If you don't want to be here, go home or go somewhere else. I'll get somebody in here who wants to be here and will give me the best they got. Florida may very well just go, you know what? You don't want to be here? Cool. Later. We don't want you here. You're going to eat up a scholarship from a kid who will come in here and bust ass to be the best Gator they can be. So goodbye. But they might also not do that. They might also say, no, man, you signed a contract. Especially considering that he wants to go right down the road to Coral Gables and play at the University of Miami and square up with the Canes. Now, Florida and Miami do not play each other next year. I think they have a game in either 2024 or 2025 where the Gators would line up against Rashada. But it is the lawsuit possibility itself that I find very interesting. Not because it impacts the university, but because it impacts NIL collectives. We have had a lot of discussions about NIL collectives on this show. I have received literature from NIL collectives asking for donations, like the booster clubs at universities have been doing for all the years. And the NILs, you send in some money. The NILs then have a group of people who decide how to divvy it up to get the best back out of your dollar. We've had all the discussions about what is your expected ROI on NIL collective money, right? What do you expect back from players who get NIL money? And all those discussions will be continued to held and move forward. But the collective itself being not associated with the school and eating up a lawsuit could be the first step towards fixing the problem that a lot of people have with NIL. And that is regulations, rules, protocols. There just aren't that many, right? It pretty much comes down to the school can't be directly involved. That's it. That's the rule. So if a lawsuit comes down from Jaden Rashada and his family against the Gator Collective for promising him a $13 million 4-year NIL deal and then walking it back after he signed his contract to play at the University of Florida, that could, maybe, possibly, I don't know that it will, could have an impact on the university. And the only thing that is going to get the NCAA or whatever the next version of it to step in and start addressing the lack of rules and regulations regarding NIL is if the schools and the NCAA itself start getting hurt for cash. If this lawsuit trickles over to the university, if they are named as a co-defendant in this litigation, and especially if the co-defendants in that litigation lose and Florida goes on the hook for a part or all of that $13 million, I suspect the NCAA would at that point go, yeah, we're going to have to jump on in this. We are going to have to become a part of this. We are going to have to start talking about this. Because now it's hurting us financially, and we all know that the number one reason to get the NCAA to act on something is to prove to them that it either hurts or it helps them financially. You do that, they want to get involved. You don't, they won't. It's real simple. It's always been that way. So this potential lawsuit, assuming Florida doesn't let him out of the NLI, if Florida lets him out of the NLI, all of this might go away, right? If he gets it, and by the way, maybe it doesn't, right? Maybe it doesn't. Because here's the thing. Even if Jaden Rashada gets let out of the NLI and is able to go back and be re-recruited to Miami and signs a contract with the Hurricane Collective or whatever it's called and gets his $9 million NIL deal back on the table, Lonzo, he could still theoretically sue the Gator Collective over that extra $4 million. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of things that I am willing to do for $4 million that I wouldn't do otherwise.
You know, the other problem with this whole thing is if they let him back out of his letter of intent, other kids are going to follow suit. So this is going to, whatever happens with this, it possibly could set precedents going forward.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Now,
so they've got to handle this knowing that, you know, all of college football is watching this.
if Florida lets Jaden Rashada out of his national letter of intent, which, by the way, I believe, my understanding, they have the right to do, as does any college or university that accepts a national letter of intent from a recruit. If the recruit says, I'd like to withdraw that, I believe the university has the right to say, okay, we'll let you out of this, and they can move on. But that does bring this point up. The collectives do not have recruiting dead periods like the schools do. So a kid signs a national letter of intent with X State University. He turns in his NLI. It's January. There's a month left until signing day. There's 3 months left before the kids put on shoulder pads and helmets for the first time. And Johnny Johnson, 5-star wide receiver out of Texas, suddenly gets a phone call. Hey, is this Johnny Johnson? Yeah, this is Johnny Johnson. Who's this? This is Bill from Z State University NIL Collective. We would like to know that, we'd like to let you know that if you were to end up a Z Stater next year, we could put $7 million on the table. I know you've only got $1 million from Y State U. We can put 7. Hey, Y State U, I would like to be released from my national letter of intent. I would like to be released from my national letter of intent. Is that a precedent that could be set? Maybe. Maybe. And that's why this is interesting. It is also, like I said, going to be interesting for one more reason. And that reason is, I have told you a number of times that there is a market for the national letter, for the NIL, for the name, image, and likeness policies. There's a market. There is a cap that a 5-star quarterback is worth. There is a cap that a 3-star left guard is worth. There is a cap that a 4-star cornerback is worth. But because NIL is so new, we don't know what it is yet. There is not a full-on laissez-faire attitude, philosophy towards NIL. There are some rules and regulations. They're very loose, they're very broad, but they are there.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have fired Byron Leftwich.
Yeah, I figured. We'll come back to that. Because that breaking news brought to you by our friends at BetQL. Be a better, be smarter, beat the books with BetQL. Use the BetQL app to get an edge on your sports gambling needs. That's a scapegoat move. Scapegoat move. We'll come back to that in a minute because I do think that has an impact on the Brady Payton to Carolina situation. Finish up this thought and then we'll get to that. This lawsuit, if it goes through, could very much dictate the way that recruiting as we know it and have known it, and the way that it changes in an NLI and NIL standpoint. There are multiple parties at play here. Jaden Rashada and his family, because like I've said, even if Florida does let him out of his national letter of intent, even if they let him out of the NLI, Jaden Rashada could still very well sue the Gator Collective for $4 million or $13 million. Hey, you promised me $13 million. I did what you asked me to. I upheld my end of the bargain, and you didn't come through. That money's owed to me. I want it, right? Even if he doesn't follow through on his commitment, he did the thing they wanted him to do for the $13 million deal. If Florida does not let him go, Florida could be wrapped up in this lawsuit. If Florida does let him go, as Lonzo has said, is there the possibility that precedent is set for other kids to be asked out or to ask out of their NLI because they catch an NIL offer down the line? I don't know. Maybe. This is the most interesting and, frankly, I think important story about NIL since NIL became a thing. No doubt about it. Texas says there is no way he gets out of his NLI because of the money involved. Every college president would jump on a plane to Gainesville and pop a cap. I'm sure. I got to scroll down and find the end of that text because that's a great way to text it. Every single college would send a rep down to Gainesville to bust somebody up over this. Oh, that's cocky for a reason. Cocky for a reason, Texas show. There's no way he gets out of his NLI because of the money involved. Every college president would jump on a plane to Gainesville and pop a cap in Florida's backside. Oh, I'm sure they wouldn't be happy about it. For exactly the reason Lonzo brought up. How many kids from this point forward would go, wait. There is now precedent set of a university letting a kid out of his NLI because he caught NIL money elsewhere. That's a big, big development in the NIL story. We'll talk more about it as it continues to develop. I do not envy the people sitting in Gainesville right now having the discussions about whether or not they should let Jaden Rashada out of his national letter of intent. Because what they do is going to have some massive ramifications on college football as a whole. Texture says this is the Wild West and it's hurting what was college football. No. I disagree with that. We'll talk more about it later in the show, though, Texture, because we got a few more stories to get to on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
Meteorologist Jennifer Buchinski on the Fan Upstate. Currently, it's Just a quick BetQL. You want to beat the books? No team has been more surprising this year in the NBA than the Indiana Pacers. They're really good against the spread, 26-19, which is good for top 5 in the league. But if we look closer, we find that the Pacers are 10-5 at home as underdogs with nearly a 4-point differential per game, meaning it's not even a sweat. Vegas keeps sleeping on Indy, so if you see the young Pacers getting points at home, bet them ATS. I'm Tristan Crick, helping you.
I'm going to put you guys on away for a second because I'm sure you don't all want to be staring into my gut while I do this. Be right back. Hey, we're back and I'm lit. LIT, son. I think, maybe.
Yeah, he's lit.
Turn.
Fanupstate.com.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Rob Alonzo with you. How do you guys feel about the international games in the National Football League? Because you're getting more. This upcoming season, we will have 5 international regular season games. In 2023, the Buffalo Bills, Tennessee Titans, Jacksonville Jaguars, New England Patriots, and Kansas City Chiefs will all lose a regular season home game, as all 5 have been selected to host an international game. The Chiefs and Patriots will host games in Germany. The Bills, Titans, and Jags will all play in London. The Bills and the Titans are designated the home teams for 2 games at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, while the Jags will host a game at Wembley as part of their multi-year commitment to playing in the UK. Now, the opponents' dates and times for the games will be released when the full schedule is announced later on this year. There is no international game in Mexico this year because Estadio Azteca in Mexico City is undergoing major renovations this year. But I suspect it will be back on the rotation in 2024. And more importantly, I suspect in 2024, we will see the number of international games rise again, likely to 7, because I suspect you'll get 2 Mexico City games to be added to the 5 European games, 3 in London, 2 in Germany. I am telling you, I have said this before. I will say it again. Ladies and gentlemen, here's what it comes down to. The NFL wants an international team. This is being done as nothing more than an expedition. They are trying to decide, A, what the reaction to NFL football is internationally, and B, if there is enough fan interest to justify moving a franchise overseas. I have said with conviction, I truly believe, forget by the end of my lifetime, that by the end of this decade, there will be a team based in London. I think that is step number 1. I could see Mexico City being the team that gets the first international spot. Why? Because Mexico City is not riddled with logistics nightmares like Europe is. You put a team in Mexico City, they can still play within the NFL's current time slots. Mexico City is just as far from one side of the country as the other side of the country is, right? I don't know off the top of my head if this is factually correct, but I'd be willing to wager that Mexico City to California is not much longer, if it's not actually a shorter distance, than New York to California. I bet it's closer to New York than it is than California is. I could be wrong. It might be very close. Mexico City could get the first one, but London has a tie-in already. Granted, I don't suspect it will be very long, but Shad Khan and the Cod family, aside from owning the Jags and All Elite Wrestling, also own a European and English Premier League team. Again, I suspect they will be selling that team at some point, but the point is they've already got a business interest in London. London also has the infrastructure in place. Now, would they be able to play in a current EPL stadium? Could the London Jaguars make their home a place like Wembley? Honestly, that's probably one of the two biggest nightmares. Why? Because English Premier League teams are not going to want NFL teams playing American football games on their turf in the midst of the EPL season. So you would probably need to develop another stadium in London for an NFL team. But if London is willing to invest, or if you catch an owner like Shad Khan who goes, what's a bill to invest in this team to move them to London, then so what? The only thing that stops stadiums from being built is money. Everything else, every problem can be solved by money. Obviously, the NFL will have to work out what the travel schedule looks like if they put a team in Europe. Put a team in Mexico City, not that big of a deal, right? It's not that tough to figure out a travel schedule in Mexico. Now, you have to figure out a few other things. You'll have to figure out what the international law looks like. You'll have to figure out what national law in the country of the new franchise looks like. You'll have to figure out, the NFL has all these antitrust exemptions from the U.S. federal government. Would there be another national government that is willing to provide those types of business exemptions to an NFL team? There are some countries, I can tell you, very much will not. The Nordic countries are not going to allow a billionaire to have a bunch of special laws written to protect his business industry like the NFL likes. That's why you're not seeing any games in Denmark or Sweden or Finland. Germany probably would not, to be honest with you. As far as I know, I don't think Germany's going to allow a ton of business exemptions that NFL owners are used to and enjoy here in the States. Would that be enough to take the NFL off? Because if a country says, no, we're not doing all that, you're going to have a hard time getting a franchise owner to go, well, then I'll put a team there. But there are Bundesliga teams, German soccer sides, that are wildly and immensely profitable in Germany. Would the NFL team in Germany fall under those rules? Same with the team in London. Same with the team in Mexico, frankly. All of that being said, the number one reason why all these games are being played internationally, it is not because the NFL wants to treat fans in London to a couple of games, treat fans in Germany to a couple of games, treat fans in Mexico to a couple of games. The only reason the NFL is doing this is to find the answer to one question. Is it profitable? And if it is profitable, by how much?
I'm curious why going elsewhere in the world makes more sense than expanding here in the United States or even Canada for that matter. Whether it already is football, unless the CFL has a thing where they're not going to allow an NFL team up there. I just, why not go to Montana or Delaware or some state in the United States that doesn't have a team yet?
Montana does not have the population to justify an NFL franchise. New England, Robert Kraft is going to have a problem with you trying to stick an expansion team anywhere that is represented under the banner New England. Jerry, remember the Saints were gonna potentially move to San Antonio. Jerry went, yo, hold up. We've already got multiple NFL teams in this state. We can't, the market can't saturate with another. California, you got teams jammed in there. Florida's got 3 teams.
Right, but there are states in the United States that are not represented by an NFL team.
I don't
Why not try to go there first before you go international?
I don't disagree with you, but the answer is simply because of market size and saturation. You can look, for instance, look at the last two expansion teams, Jacksonville and Carolina. Jacksonville and Carolina have both been in the league since 1995. Both of those football franchises are old enough to drink and have babies if they were people. Carolina and Jacksonville both, and granted, it's because they're not good, or partially because they're not good, but both of those teams are still struggling to fill up stadiums and to crack merch sales.
I don't know. Last time I saw Jacksonville, it was pretty full, and I've been to Carolina a bunch of times when the stadium was full. It's called having a winning team. That
I agree
takes
with
care
you.
of that part.
I agree with you. But you go to Charlotte, a city of transplants, with a new team, and you're not gonna get a ton of NFL fans who are gonna go, I have a new team now, right? Like, I lived here, but now there's this new team here. I am not a whatever I was fan anymore. Now I'm a this fan. You got to grow fans. Charlotte's fan base is a younger fan base. Why? Because all the Panthers fans are kids that grew up right next door to Bank of America and grew up Panthers fans, not inherited their Panther fandom from their fan. But you put that team in Germany, you don't have to worry about Steelers fans and Cowboys fans and Niners fans and legacy NFL fans.
I'd rather see a team in North Dakota.
There's nobody in North Dakota.
I've never
There's
been
nobody
there.
there.
I can't take your word on that because I haven't been to North Dakota, and I don't think you have either.
I have been to North Dakota.
Have you? Okay.
I've been through both Dakotas, as a matter of fact.
You've
South
been-
was the
been-
preferential Dakota, by the way.
What's the biggest city in North Dakota?
Bismarck? I don't know.
Which, I mean, we could look it up, might have a population equal to or greater than Charlotte or Jacksonville.
But keep in mind, in Charlotte, you also have the upstate of South Carolina. You have the University Triangle or whatever it's called. You have a lot of places outside of Charlotte that contribute to that area. The largest city in North Dakota, Lonzo, is Fargo, North Dakota, with a population of 125,000. That ain't enough. Bismarck is number 2, 73,000.
What's the population of Green Bay?
Green Bay has Milwaukee next door.
I know, but what's
Green Bay has
what's the
the-
population? I'm just going by what you're talking about. If you're going by population, Green Bay, I don't think is very big.
Right, but I'm saying South Dakota, the Dakota. I'll give you the whole Dakotas. All the Dakotas. Green Bay's population is 107,000. They also have Appleton right next door, which is 75,000. Already, I am past the biggest two cities in North Dakota, and they ain't close to each other. Right? It's about market. It's about fans. It's about how many people are going to invest. You are, I'm not going to say you're out of markets in the United States. Oklahoma City could theoretically be an NFL market. But Oklahoma City is already loaded with Dallas Cowboys fans, with Houston Texans fans.
All right, what about Hawaii?
You might as well go to England. You might as well go to
Why?
London.
Why?
Because all of the logistics.
The distance from anywhere in the United States to Hawaii and the distance to London is still further.
The population of Hawaii as an entire state is 1.442 million. The population of London, the city, is 9 million. Don't look at this as a fan. Look at it as a business owner. Where are you putting your, just based on that, where are you putting your team?
You just talked
London.
you talked about international law. You talked about all these things that could be a problem. You're not going to have that problem in Hawaii.
Well, first off, state laws are different too. Keep in mind, you want to know one of the reasons that Florida has 3 teams? It ain't because they have the densest population, although they do. The reason Florida has 3 teams is
Because it's warm there.
besides the fact that the weather's much nicer, is because Florida has very friendly tax laws to major corporations, and Florida does not have a state income tax, meaning that athletes want to be there. Part of the reason LeBron went to Miami was because he was able, in the prime of his career, to make the most money he's ever had and not have a state income tax eat away at 35% of it.
All right, Kevin on the stream says they can't call it National Football League anymore. They'd have to call it the International Football League. And no, they don't. Like the Big Ten has 10 teams like that. I mean,
Yeah.
they'll just say it's an established logo,
They could. Or they might change it. Who knows? Maybe it does become the IFL, the International Football League. I don't know. By the way, Joey B just pointed out that it is a further flight from Atlanta to Hawaii than it is Atlanta to London.
Okay.
The point here is the NFL is going to play 5 games in Europe next year. They're going to dress it up as we want to treat our international fans. We want to give our international fans an opportunity to see their favorite NFL players live and in living color. The NFL is not doing this to be nice to fans in Deutschland or jolly old London. The NFL is doing this very simply because they believe that London, that Germany, and that Mexico City are the 3 likely most profitable destinations for a franchise. I have told you a number of times that I believe Shad Khan wants to move the Jags to London. Would that change if the Jags go with Trevor Lawrence on a Super Bowl run next year? Because it won't happen this year? Maybe, but probably not. Because could you imagine moving the Jags to London and then winning a Super Bowl there? Population of Jacksonville, by the way, is just over 1 million, not including all the suburbs that are right next door to it. Could you imagine moving that team to a city with a population of 9 million and then winning a Super Bowl and bringing the first international Super Bowl? You would be, as Lonzo and I like to say, very over with Londoners at that point, who will then put money into the franchise. This is an expedition. It's an experiment. Wherever the profit line goes, that's where the next NFL franchise team will be. Whether it's a move team or an expansion team. Dig it. Come back, wrap up hour number 2 after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. James said Buffalo played football 100 years ago. They would never get a team today. You're probably not wrong, to be honest with you. Sorry, Green Bay, yeah. Little brother Propson says Charlotte has more people than the entire state of North Dakota. Yeah, that's exactly right. And like I mentioned, Charlotte has Greenville, a population of over 1 million. Charlotte's, how far is Charlotte from here? An hour and 45? That is within that jurisdiction. Got to fill the Fargo Dome. Yeah. Trey says the Carolina Stadium was full when Cowboys and Niners were there. Yeah, that's exactly right. But think about it. You put a team in Charlotte, that city is going to be full of fans who already have a team. Very few of them are going to go, I'm not a Cowboys fan anymore now. I'm a Panthers fan because they're here. You might have a few who go, the Panthers are my second team. They're my second favorite team. But how many of those people are going to put a ton of money into the franchise? And at the end of the day, owning a franchise is only about profit. We all know that. Joy B says, we're out of major cities to expand to. Where would you rather put a team? Austin with a population of around 1 million or London with a population of 9? Exactly. James says, Delaware is Eagles country. Johnny Johnson sounds like a friend of beef. Yeah, they rolled together in their T-top Camaro. Scooping up your girlfriend. Freaking beef.
Johnny Johnson sounds more like an El Camino kind of guy.
Johnny Johnson would be my wrestling name. Yeah, buddy. Luke, you can try to call again. We're not sure. Phone should have been open.
Yeah, I didn't see the.
Yeah, we never saw the light go off.
Yeah.
Try again, buddy. Love to have you on, as always. Do you think the new Ant-Man will be better than Scarlet Witch, the movie, aka Doctor Strange into the multiverse? I don't know, because like I said, we are getting progressively more comic booky in the movies, and that's okay with me. But the problem is when you start getting more comic booky, more surreal realities become available to you, and those are fine in comic books, but they can translate to being too busy in the movies. And my fear is we're going to get to a point where we're getting too busy without having a drilled down point to what we're driving at. The Avengers was great because it started with a superhero world that still felt very real, right? Like Iron Man was obviously surreal in his armor and his mech, but it felt like it was real, right? Like all the bad guys were also using tech. It wasn't magic. And now when you start introducing magic, especially tiers of magic, it can start to get a little tough to tell a coherent story. I hope it's great because Paul Rudd deserves everything. Got a bunch of comments about the NFL discussion from the last segment. Texas said the league would just go by the acronym NFL. They wouldn't be known as the National Football League anymore. They'd just be the NFL. That would be the name. I don't know. Like I said, I on one hand, you've got 100 years of branding. On the other hand, you've got the opportunity to rebrand. Both of those can be valuable if handled the right way. Texas said, I was a Falcons fan before the Panthers came around. Still a Falcons fan. The NFL wants the big money, the big marketing. Let me go back to the second half of that text because I lost it. Let's see. The big marketing, there's no impact on them. Yeah, no, that's it. At the end of the day, it's about a profit center. Can a franchise be a profit center? What is more profitable? Sticking it in a second tier. I don't mean second tier like quality of life. I mean like in terms of size and population. A second tier program with a population of 1 million, or having to take a few extra long plane rides every year, but having a city of 9 million built around you. The city, by the way, let's see, just because I'm on the tear right now. Mexico City's population is 8.855 million. What was the city they played in Germany last year? Do you remember? Was it Frankfurt? I think it was Frankfurt, Germany. Frankfurt's population is just under 800,000, or excuse me, just under 8.8 mil. So you're looking at the NFL branching out to say, where are we going to make the most money? Nothing else. If you don't like the idea of the International Football League, you're going to have about 7 to 10 more years to really accept it. The only question remaining is, are we going to see an expansion team, or are we going to see a franchise relocate? Had a lot of relocations. St. Louis moved to L.A. San Diego moved to L.A. The Cardinals moved years ago. The Raiders moved to Vegas. The Saints after Katrina were very close to moving to San Antonio or Oklahoma City before it got ex-nayed and poo-pooed by Jerry Jones. Seen a lot of franchises moving. Could we see one move abroad? Yes. If a billionaire owner decides that there is money to be made overseas, wave adios to the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's the team I believe will be moving on. All right, coming up in the next hour of the show. Got a lot of NFL I want to get to coming out of the gate in hour number 3. The Dallas Cowboys, despite the fact that Mike McCarthy said they'd be sticking with Brett Maher, have signed a kicker for this weekend's game. Will they carry 2 kickers? And more importantly, do any of you care about a kicker story? I'm more curious about if you care about a kicker story than the kicker story. San Francisco. And we've talked about Carolina having to handle an ugly quarterback situation. Let's talk about San Francisco's, because Trey Lance is the player who has joined the ranks of sending out cryptic tweets. We'll talk about that coming up in just a minute. There is an argument I have been sent about Carolina landing Derek Carr. I'm going to tell you what the listener emailed to me and why I don't like the argument. We'll get to that. And Carolina is the 3rd best Vegas bet to land a potential free agent quarterback that's not Derek Carr. I'll tell you who it is and how that shakes out and why Brady fits into that plan perfectly when we come back on the Annoy Lonzo Hour. That's next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Coordinator Byron Leftwich after their disappointing season. This would make 7 OC openings at the moment. The Titans, Bills, and Jaguars in London. The Chiefs and Patriots in Germany. Those are your host teams for the European portion of next year's schedule. Matchups, times, the German cities revealed.
Did you see the story?
For the 2nd consecutive season.
I don't know what airport it was at, but there's a story coming out of an airport where a lady, I guess, went into an airport Chili's, got wings, left without paying her bill. The staff tried to stop her. She grabbed a fire extinguisher off the wall and just started blasting random passerbys in the face with the fire extinguisher while making her escape from the airport Chili's. Lonzo, what's your reaction if you're walking through the airport and somebody just blasts you in the face with a fire extinguisher, WWE style?
Well, first of all, I'm looking for cameras to see if it's
on camera.
See if it's WWE.
Yeah,
I mean, that's my first thought is, oh, cool. I'm right in the middle of a storyline here. All right, let's go. Secondly, I've said this before. I've been sprayed in the face with a fire extinguisher. It's not fun. So I immediately will avoid the area. Did she get away?
I don't know what the result was.
Okay.
I got to assume she got arrested, right? Like, here's my question. Like I said, I've never been in a fight in my life. But I suspect if somebody blasted me in the face with a fire extinguisher, it would be I'd have a real tough time not going full edge on them.
Well, I think you would if your mouth was open. First of all, if you weren't expecting it, you're getting a mouthful of extinguisher. You're also getting it in your eyes. You're going to be disoriented for a while, and chances are, unless they're just staying right there, they're going to get away. And each person recovers from things differently. I mean, just like getting sprayed with mace. Some people, it might take them hours. Somebody else, it might take them 5 minutes and they're ready to go. So
that's true. You know, I don't know what getting sprayed in the face with a fire extinguisher feels like. So I don't know that I just be like, oh, I just grab it and oh, here's the video. I found it. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do.
Yeah, you're probably going to get us flagged again. Be careful.
No, if you pull videos, first off, there's no audio to it, so there's nothing really to flag.
them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job.
There's a lady. She has left the Chili's. Now she has the fire extinguisher. She's just walking through the airport terminal, right? The dude in black is like, yo, hold up, slow your roll. She turns around right in the grill.
You know this dude stopped.
This is in the Atlanta airport.
You notice he stopped, though. As soon as he got sprayed, he stopped. Do you see him anymore?
Yeah, good call. Take that down so we can see the rest of it.
The other thing is, if you're following someone with a fire extinguisher, you've got to be prepared
to take a fire extinguisher blast.
Yeah, I mean, you got to learn. You got to have some sort of evasive plan ready in case it comes up near your face.
She's a terrorist.
Is she going on the gang? Just shut the door and lock her on the gangplank. Show up. All right, she's left. Now we're going back out to the main terminal.
Oh, no.
The camera person is very clearly not taking the risk of getting shot. But we're going back to the gate. Passengers are like, yeah, no, I'm out. Oh, everybody catches some. Now she's just going through the whole building now.
Well,
she's making it rain on everybody.
If she's smart, which is
she's very clearly not.
That's a ninja move right now. You spray up, yeah. You fill up enough of the smoke screen. You put the thing down, and you're out.
And then when this being clears, there are fire extinguisher boots and a hat just sitting right in the middle of the road.
There you go.
That's insane.
You also got to wonder how much stuff is actually in the fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
It's got to run out eventually.
The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show starts right now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Good to have you, Rob Brown and the great one, Weenus in the Pit, on the radio this AM. You want to be a part of it, 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663, 844-326-3663. Text us on the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we will read it on the air. We've got a few more stories I want to run through. Let us start with this. I have made the argument for you, and I think I even won, to some degree, Rashad Beard over this AM. If you missed that interview, go to the website, thefanupstate.com. Right at the top of the page is a button that says podcast. Click on it, drop it down to the Rob Brown Show, and you can download and listen on demand to all 3 hours every single day. So make sure you hit it up. Grab the missed episodes, grab the missed segments. We talked to Rashad Beard in the first hour of the show today. And I presented to him my argument to why a Tom Brady, Sean Payton joint effort in Charlotte actually makes perfect sense. I'm not going to lie to you. I very much expected Rashad Beard to push back on me when I brought that up. He not only did not push back hard, but said that I actually made it sound good. I actually made it sound right.
See, the absurdity of the statement just overwhelmed him to the degree where he couldn't think
that's what it
rationally.
was.
Because yeah, that's absolutely what it was. I saw it. I was there.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Rashad, a guy that we have been having on the show for about a year now, year and a half now, who has never been shy about telling me that he thinks I'm wrong. I'm not going to say he full-fledged jumped on my side, but he did not push back on me. One of the pieces of the argument, and to me, frankly, I think the most important one that I have thrown out there, is Tom Brady for a year gives you a year to find the dude at quarterback. Not a dude. I don't want a dude. We've had plenty of a dudes. We had a dude in Sam. We had a dude in Teddy. We had a dude over. We had a dude in Baker. We had a dude over and over again and never had the dude. The next quarterback for the Carolina Panthers needs to be the dude. Tom Brady can be the dude for a single year. And in that single year, you can work to find the dude that replaces the dude. Well, there's another Pro Bowl quarterback whose name I have mentioned as a long-term possibility, and I've mentioned him multiple times. That dude is Lamar Jackson. Lamar is very clearly not happy with the Baltimore Ravens right now. Before the Ravens played the Bengals this weekend, Lamar sent out a tweet that said, unfortunately, my knee's a little more banged up than I thought it was. I'm unavailable. Quote, I hope we still have a chance, end quote, which if I was Hundley would have ticked me off, by the way. We talked about that. But then Lamar didn't even show up to the game. Wasn't even on the sideline for his boys. Now, the stories were that Lamar was sick, which if Lonzo and I can tell you anything, if he's got what we got, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and you don't want him around anybody if that
Correct.
was true.
But there have been other reports out there that say they don't believe that Lamar's sick. They believe this was Lamar very publicly sticking it to the Ravens. How is not showing it up? How was not showing up sticking it to the Ravens? Because all of a sudden it's controversy that didn't exist before, right? We were all kind of thinking those two teams those two sides are very clearly working towards resolving their dispute. But Lamar doesn't show up. Now all of a sudden it is right up front in the public eye. Everybody talking. Lamar and the Ravens being jilted lovers, right? The Ravens do have a nuclear option if they're unable to come to a deal with Lamar Jackson. And based on the fact that they did not get a deal done last year, I can't imagine that either side has moved tremendously towards the other. The nuclear option for the Ravens is, of course, the franchise tag for Lamar Jackson. And I will go ahead and put on the table right now that I'm 95% sure if Lamar doesn't reach a deal with the Baltimore Ravens, they will franchise tag him. And then it's up to him if he plays a year with the salary of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league averaged together, or if he sits out a year, doesn't play, waits out the tag, and then becomes a free agent the year after that. I don't know which one of those two routes Lamar Jackson would take. What I do know is if that becomes the case, Lamar Jackson is a free agent in 2024. Lamar Jackson is a guy that I absolutely, this was Lonzo's big concern, and I get it. Lamar Jackson is 26 years old. For reference, so is Josh Allen. For reference, Patrick Mahomes right now, a guy that I think any of you would be comfortable building a franchise around, is older than Lamar Jackson right now. Lamar Jackson is, by the way, just turned 26. 26. You can build a franchise around a 26-year-old quarterback. You bring in Brady and Peyton. Brady gives you a year. You wait out the Lamar Jackson difficulties with the Ravens. And if he becomes a free agent, Lamar Jackson's your next target. Because any of the influx of free agent talent, Joey B popped in earlier. He said, think about free agent talent influx for the Carolina Panthers if Brady shows up. Could a guy like Gronk go, yeah, I could run it back one more with Brady in Carolina, a place where some tight ends have gotten uber famous? Greg Olsen. There will be an influx of talent that wants to play with Brady on his way out the door. If you have Brady for a year and then you roll it over to Lamar Jackson, that talent would more than likely be willing to stay because you're going from one Pro Bowl quarterback to another Pro Bowl quarterback back to back. The reason that they are going to leave Tampa is because who's up next for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Lonzo, if I gave you $50 right now, could you tell me who the backup quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is right now?
No, I'm going to go with Chad Henne.
Incorrect. I'll even give you a hint. About 2 weeks ago, he performed the rescue of a family out of a helicopter that crashed in the water off of Tampa Bay. He was all over the news for it. Who's the backup quarterback? He played at Missouri. Who's the backup quarterback?
Ty something.
Blaine Gabbert.
Blaine. Okay.
So,
he's still in the league?
So if you're Godwin, if you're Evans, and Tom leaves Tampa, and the next man up is Blaine Gabbert, or somebody who just beats out Blaine Gabbert for the job, you're probably gone, right? No, wait a minute. I ain't getting 1,200 yards with Blaine Gabbert. But if you're Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Tom Brady leaves, and Lamar Jackson steps in, now I'm interested in sticking around a little longer. I went from franchise QB to franchise QB. It's very attractive. Why am I bringing up Lamar Jackson? Why is Lamar I'm spending time talking about right now? Because the Las Vegas odds for who Lamar Jackson's next team will be have been posted. He had some injuries this year. He's got drama with the club. A lot of us believe that Lamar's done with Baltimore at the worst after the franchise tag is lifted. If they don't put the tag on him and he's a free agent this offseason, great, go get him now. I would be fine passing up Tom Brady for a 26-year-old Lamar Jackson this year if he's not a free agent or if he becomes a free agent. But if Lamar Jackson does not become a free agent, and I don't suspect the Ravens will do anything but tag him, the year after that, he will be. And he's going to want Deshaun money. It's going to cost you. But there's not a lot of 26-year-old athletically gifted franchise quarterbacks that are going to be available. There's just not. The 2018 league MVP played on his fifth-year option this past season. He's eligible for a new contract, but he and the Ravens are far apart from each other. He'll get tagged next year. So Vegas went ahead and put out their odds for Lamar Jackson's next destination. The Miami Dolphins are plus 1,000. Why? He's from South Florida. That's not too far from where he grew up. The Washington Commanders, are plus 900. The New England Patriots are plus 900. The Raiders are plus 750. So are the Carolina Panthers. The top two teams, odds-wise in Vegas, to end up with Lamar Jackson are the New York Jets at plus 250. And frankly, that one makes sense, right? Every time there's a quarterback this size that comes open, if there's a spot in New York, the NFL media, Rice used to drive me crazy. They do it in the NBA too. Every time a guy makes a name for himself on a second-tier team, the national talking heads scream on TV, "Get him to New York!"
Well, why wouldn't you want to go to New York?
Honestly, I would want to go to New York. You're going to make more money in New York than you are anywhere else. So the Jets make sense. Zach Wilson, I think we can all conclusively say, has failed at this point. Mike White had a fun couple of weeks in there, but he's not the dude. So the Jets have one more year with Zach Wilson under Robert Saleh, and Lamar might want to go to the Big Apple. The second team, Las Vegas odds-wise, and this one is very interesting to me. The Jets are plus 250. The Falcons are plus 350. Carolina plus 750. Is Atlanta a fit for Lamar? I got to say, yeah. I got to say they are, right? Now, they've got a couple of weapons in Atlanta. I think they could probably add a couple of more over the next year to make them a little more enticing. I think they'd have to bump up the defense a little bit because what Lamar loses in New York money, he's going to want to make up for in playing for a good football team. Atlanta's Atlanta until they prove they're not. Until they prove they're not. But they aren't a team. They are a team with an upward trajectory. I won't argue that. Atlanta's an interesting fit. But all of this is circled around my assumption. Brady to Lamar only happens if and only if Sean Payton is the head coach next year. If Payton is the coach, who's more appealing at that point? Who's more appealing if you are Lamar Jackson? Is it Sean Payton in Charlotte? Or is it Arthur Smith in Atlanta? I don't know Lamar. I don't know Lamar personally. I've never talked to Lamar about it. But I'd be willing to guess Sean Payton with DJ Moore, Shi Smith, a defense run by Vic Fangio, and who knows what free agents added to the mix because of Brady, probably looks more attractive than Atlanta. If Sean Payton is signed by the Carolina Panthers, whether or not Brady comes there, Carolina's odds to land Lamar will go from plus 750 to probably close to Atlanta's at plus 350, maybe plus 4. If they land him and Brady, Carolina, I think, becomes the odds-on favorite to land Lamar Jackson the year after that. If you are a Panthers fan and you are not excited about that, I don't know what to say to you. I don't know why you wouldn't be. That lines up great. Let me get a text or two in here before we take a break because we got Fight Club coming up in the next segment. Texter says, Rob, let me get this straight. The big BM the Panthers dropped last year wasn't enough for you. Now you want to bring in the GOAT Jerry Active overrated automated turnover machine along with another convicted cheater, but we better off just holding pat and have the same chance to get Lamar. Bringing in Brady makes no sense. Later, brother. But it does, though. But it does. I've already laid that argument out. If you haven't seen it, go to our Twitter page or Facebook page. Yesterday, I filmed about yesterday I clipped from the show about a 4-minute YouTube video that lays out exactly why Brady to Charlotte makes amazing sense.
You cut me out of that video,
No, I
right?
didn't.
I'm not in there.
You're in there arguing against me. I left you in there and true to form. Not only did I leave you in there, I gave you some close-ups in it. You're a star.
How is that even possible?
RB.
No, I was talking about with a head my size. I mean, what? Would you go in like one? You went in one frame.
I just pulled it off the stream.
Okay. All right.
All right. So If you haven't seen that, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/thefanupstate, or Twitter, twitter.com/thefanupstate. There's a 4-minute YouTube video that you can click on and watch that explains exactly why Brady makes great sense.
James wants to know on the stream if that text came from me. No, it's too it's not my writing style.
It's
Let's put
not.
it that way.
Although calling him the GOAT, geriatric, overrated, automatic turnover machine is pretty funny.
I wouldn't even call him the GOAT in jest. So it's definitely not me.
True. By the way, just for funsies, texter, Tom Brady had fewer turnovers than Derek Carr did last year. Oh, and more touchdowns. And about 1,100 more passing yards. And a higher completion percentage. And a lower sack rate. But no. It makes no sense. You're right. It makes no sense to bring in a guy that had better overall statistics in every offensive category than Derek Carr. Makes perfect sense to not bring that guy in for a single year. I'm just a football guy. What do I know?
Wow. I just saw something post. I don't even know if I should even mention this from First Take. Which team is the best fit for Tom Brady next year? Your boy Mad Dog says the Raiders. Damian Woody says Raiders. Orlovsky says Panthers.
Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. If you get me and Dan Orlovsky on the same page together, something's happening. Something's happening. Everybody says Raiders. Why? Because Devontae's there. That's it.
By the way, I think Brady's done.
I don't.
I think he's completely done. He's finished. Maybe he goes back and tries to reconcile some problems. But, yeah, I think he's done.
Diddy just texted the show, said, Rob, the Brady haters will never stop being illogical. Their jealousy is too powerful.
Mine has nothing to do with jealousy. It has to do with not liking a cheater who's from Michigan. And there's just a lot of things, but there's no hate there. I would love to see him go to rehab. I would love to see him reconcile with his family because I hate the idea of a broken family. But as far as football goes, I think he's made a statement to some. He is the greatest of all time, not to me, but to a lot of people. And he has nothing else to prove. Eventually, you got to stop. You do. You just got to.
Jealousy, better get used to Brady. He is coming to CLT. I was trying to come up with more, but that's all the rhymes I could get out.
And then I'm done. So, I mean,
Ladies and gentlemen.
Which will cost me some money, but whatever.
I'm going to have to find a new damn co-host for Views from Mint Street next year, ain't I?
We'll see.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Thursday. And you know what that means. Fight Club with Lonzo comes up next. And boy, howdy, has there been stuff to talk about. Lonzo leads us through the world of professional wrestling, MMA, boxing, and more when we come back on The Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
If you haven't seen it, watch what I sent you on Twitter because it will be discussed.
I'm never going to get into it.
But watch. Have you seen this particular one?
No.
Don't keep watching. Keep watching.
Oh, nice little somersault action. No. The Self-Concussion League.
Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg, and on the Odyssey app. I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language. Like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right. And they're designed by real language teachers, so you learn how to have real-world conversations, things you'll actually use.
It's incredible. After using Babbel, I'm ready to start having real conversations in French.
There's all kinds of ways to learn. Use Babbel's podcasts or games or videos. You can even join live classes with a language teacher.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
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 Babbel. Évidemment. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Experience the future of connectivity with Spectrum One. You get Spectrum Internet delivering the fastest speeds in the nation for $49.99 a month. Advanced Wi-Fi for enhanced privacy and security, free for 12 months. And a Spectrum mobile line with unlimited talk, text, and data, plus nationwide 5G, free for 12 months. That's Spectrum One. Visit Spectrum.com or your local Spectrum store today. Offer subject to change. Valid for qualified residential customers only. Service not available in all areas. Restrictions apply.
Gas, groceries, vacations, most everything seems to have increased in cost these days.
Leave me alone, Kevin. You're going to force me to just constantly do that instead of trying to breathe through my nose. And how do you know it's me? How do you know it's not Rob? You don't know. The microphones are sensitive. It's not my fault.
Sensitive.
And by the way, and this could come back to haunt me. I don't care. I hate whistling. Okay.
It's true. Alonzo's favorite song is "Patience" by
No,
Guns N' Roses.
no, it's not. That's torture.
And it's everything in my entire body not to be whistling "Patience" right now. And because I don't want Lonzo to.
And Rob can't whistle.
And also,
He can't whistle.
That's all I got.
One of the most annoying. You take the whistling out, the song's still annoying. Some strung out dude singing about missing his woman. Cause I'm missing you.
Still all right to smile.
Don't you sing it like because he doesn't sing it. He whines about it.
Now.
All right, time for the Fight Club where I try to muster some energy. I've been like saving it up all week. I tried it Saturday, did not work. and so I realized, I am never the energy on a show except for my own show. I'm the laid back guy with if I'm energetic, it's probably because we're fighting. Except for this segment. So the fact that I've been able to talk for probably like 35 seconds without coughing, it bodes well for the rest of the week. I think as my throat starts to tickle. All right, we're going to start off with a couple things that are not wrestling related. That's right, because you know what season it almost is? It's almost MMA season. Whenever football is completely over, that's when they start ramping up the cards for UFC, and which is a smart move on their part. Gets people don't have anything to do on a Saturday night, and they're probably going to dish out a little bit of cash to watch some UFC. But I am puzzled about something I do not understand why. I guess it probably has to do with money. That's the only thing I can think of. I don't know if you saw this, but Francis Ngannou is no longer with the UFC, and that has to do with money. They offered him a contract, wasn't big enough for him, so he said no. So now the heavyweight championship is vacant. And who's fighting for said heavyweight championship? John Jones. Okay. This bothers me. Yeah, I know he's undefeated. I get it. The last time he fought was what, 2 years ago? And he wasn't fighting at heavyweight. He's fighting at light heavyweight. Why does this guy get a shot at the vacant title when you have so many other guys that have been fighting as much as they possibly can and are actually ranked? Because John Jones, not ranked. He'll be taking on Cyril Gane for the vacant title. And why not Stipe Miocic? The guy who had it, before Francis Ngannou. Right now, the rankings are number one ranked is Cyril Gane. So I get that. He's the number one ranked, number one contender. You also got Curtis Blades at 2, Pavlovich at 3, Aspinall at 4, Tuivasa at 5, Derek Lewis is at 6, Alexander Volkov is at 7, Rosenstruck at 8, Tabura at 9, and Spivak at 10. So did you hear John Jones' name mentioned in there anywhere, Rob Brown? No, you did not. Why does this guy get to go to the front of the line to fight for the title with all the controversy surrounding John Jones? And every time he fights, he wins, and then he has to go away for a while because of something.
You know the answer. I know the answer. The answer is because of all the things that have driven me crazy about the UFC that you have pumped up. Because John Jones brings eyeballs. That's it. Whether you're watching to watch him win.
By the way, I will pay the money to watch this fight,
Of course you will.
hoping that he will lose.
It doesn't matter.
And that's the reason why I get it. The money spends the same way. But I want him to lose so bad that I'm willing to come out of pocket to pay for it, to see it happen. Because it will happen someday, I hope.
Doesn't matter if you are watching John Jones because you want to see him win, or if you're watching John Jones hoping that he gets his head kicked into low Earth orbit. You are paying to watch John Jones. And while we would love to pretend that it is driven by competition, that it is driven by rankings, that guys who earn title shots get them and guys who don't, at the end of the day, Dana White and this entire company are driven by showmanship first. It is exactly the reason that I have not been a Conor McGregor guy, because guys like Conor McGregor make it less about the sport and more about the show. And I want it to be about the sport and who is the best at the sport, not the show. Guys like Conor make it about the show. And so even though John Jones isn't the showman that Conor McGregor is, because of everything that has happened away from the octagon, John Jones becomes a circus, and people spend good money to see the circus. That's it. That's the only reason, because John Jones will put more eyeballs on the TV set. So Dana's going to, let's be real. If John Jones was a guy with a record of 500 in his UFC career, John Jones would not be in the UFC right now. He would be fighting for some nobody organization down at the local VFW.
I don't know. Is he in the UFC right now? I mean, because he's in, he's out. He doesn't have to fight. And then when he does get a chance to fight, he gets a title shot. It's very annoying. Yes, I understand the reason why. It doesn't mean that I have to like it. But there are some people out there.
Why he has a title shot. You know the answer.
There are some people out there who are John Jones fans no matter what, and they cannot wait for this. It's about time. He was going to move up, and we've been waiting forever. Cannot wait for him to be handed the belt.
I mean, look, John Jones is going to.
Can Cyril Gane beat him? Because I think he can. Will he? Probably not.
I think he can, unless John Jones. Listen, if John Jones puts his nose to the grindstone,
and
he stops screwing with the idiocy outside of the octagon, John Jones can still be one of, if not the best fighter on planet Earth. He does have to go up to heavyweight, and there are some guys that just cannot carry the extra weight and fight. The stamina gets away from them. I don't know if John Jones is one of those guys or not. We're going to find out. What I do know is that we're going to pay for it, and that's all Dana cares about.
I will.
You know how I know the UFC is more important than that? Because for years, Dana has been saying that the number one sin in the UFC that you will not get away with is what? Putting your hands on a woman. Dana White slapped his wife in the face 2 weeks ago.
Didn't she slap him first?
I believe that she grabbed him and like hit him in the arm and he slapped her in the face.
I didn't
Listen,
watch
I'm
it.
not
Yeah.
I'm not getting into the moral rights are wrong. I absolutely think for a dude like Dana, you don't put your hand for any dude, you don't put your hands on a woman. But for a dude like Dana, even if she slaps you first, you don't put your hands on the woman. You are too big and too dangerous for that. The point is not that, it is the hypocrisy. Dana has said for a what? The only sin you can't come back from is putting your hands on a woman. Yet he did it. And did the UFC offer even a slight bit of discipline against Dana? No. Why not?
All right.
Because Dana brings in money.
Let us transition from one slap to another. And the beginning of the Pro Slap Fight League, which happened last night, and it's all over the internet. And people, especially big name athletes, are like, why would anyone watch this? But they're tweeting video of it. Why would you watch this? Well, you're helping to get this thing take off by talking about it. We have talked about on this program about what's worse, getting smacked in the face or getting punched in the face. And getting smacked in the face is worse. I tried to watch this, and it's kind of funny as a novelty to a certain degree. You see a YouTube video here or there, and like, oh man, I can't, but they're making an entire league out of this. No way this thing lasts. No way. I'd rather watch arm wrestling.
I'm gonna tell you a couple of things. Number one, as far as arm wrestling goes, what was that Sly Stallone movie? Hanging Tough?
Over the top. Come on, man.
That's right. Over the top.
Meet me halfway across the sky.
I watched.
That was a good song, Kenny Loggins.
I watch every Kenny Loggins song is a good song. I watched some arm wrestling until I saw one time though a dude start and they were going and my man's arm just snapped.
Yeah,
from the
that's
heat,
not.
and I was
good.
like, nope, I'm out. I'm done. I'll never watch.
Have you
If it-
tried doing the finger thing that they
I
did
tried
on
doing
over
any
the
of
top?
it because
It just-
again, I saw a man's arm snap like a twig. Now, when arm wrestling videos come up on Twitter, I'm like, close out the whole lap. I don't even want it. I don't even want to risk coming across.
Yeah,
that
I've said
again.
this before, but when I see arm wrestling, I think of Storm from American Gladiators because I arm wrestled her and she punched me in the arm like the entire interview before we did it, and I had this big purple bruise on my arm the next day, and I won because I cheated.
Hilarious, frankly. So as far
Fell out to my
as-
arm, man. That hurt.
It's not my arm, so it's hilarious. As far as the ultimate slap fighting, whatever they're calling it, I have less than negative interest. Now, I got approached about this the other day. Lonzo, younger Rob Brown used to be vehemently anti-MMA, right? Now this, you got to keep in mind, this was early MMA days. This is when it was like underground stuff. I used to call it
When it was basically Ultimate Fighting.
Yeah.
I mean, strongman.
Sure, yeah. I used to call it human cockfighting, right? It's human cockfighting. It was gross, it was dirty, it was no holds barred. I had nothing for it. And then as UFC organized it, put in rules and regulations and protocols, I jumped on board. And now I'm a big fan. I don't see that happening with slap fighting because I don't understand. First off, I don't even get what's entertaining about it. I don't get what's entertaining about it. Second off, I am the dude that is 100% on board with pretty much every single protocol that all levels of football put in place to try to limit concussions and CTE. You might as well call this the ultimate concussion league. I don't get it. I've never gotten it. I don't know why UFC is investing in it. I don't know why other athletes are investing in it. I don't know who in that. Listen, you're right. We've had the conversation about what's getting worse, slapped or punched. The argument has never been about which hurts more. Getting punched will hurt more than getting slapped. Getting slapped is worse because of the insult that comes with it, right?
Yeah, it's
I'm gonna
disrespectful
hit
for
you,
sure.
and I'm not even going to try to put you down because I'm not afraid of you coming back at me. I cannot understand who would go, I want to be subjected to a slap in the face.
Well, we'll
By the way, I'm going to let you handle 3 minutes because this is a phone call that you and I are both going to want me to take. I know this is bad, but I'll be back in 2 minutes.
All right, fine. Wow, this is unusual. So anyway, Kevin says Rob is soft-hearted, can't handle seeing true butt kickings. Here's the thing, though. Is that really that? I mean, you don't smack in UFC. You just don't. But back in the schoolyard, if someone smacks someone, it's totally different than someone punching someone in the face. Let us move on to some professional wrestling. AEW, something's going on right now, and I've been talking about, Rob and I have been talking off the air about Hikaru Shida, who is my favorite homegrown wrestler from AEW. I think she has never gotten the attention that she deserves. I know she was champion for a short bit of time, but I think she deserves a little bit more. And it looks like they may be leaning towards that a little bit more. And I'd be interested to get Rob's take on this about the fact that it looks like Saraya and Toni Storm are turning heel, which I'm fine with. Saraya is not getting the kind of babyface reaction that she thought she would get when she re-entered the ring, and she's gone somewhere else and acted like it's her house when it's not. And so the smart move with the writing and everything else is to take it in a direction where she turns heel, and that's what she's doing, and taking Toni Storm along with her. But I think the real question for me, and I don't have a problem with them turning heel, and I think it will work really well for her. Does that mean that Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, friend of the show, is now a babyface? So when you turn opponents heel in the middle of a feud, does that automatically turn the other wrestlers into baby faces, or can they be tweeners or something in between? By the way, Steven, yes, he got a phone call, but I don't know who it's from. It may not be from who you think it is. We are also looking, speaking of Fight Club, we are setting up some interviews for some WWE wrestlers that are coming to town to SmackDown. SmackDown's going to be at the Well in a couple of weeks, and he is setting up some interviews with some pretty famous wrestlers, which if it happens, I'm going to be a little bit nervous about, because interviewing is a scary thing. So I think Dr. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter are going to be face now. And we'll see. So Rob, we were just talking about.
Sorry, Shane Beamer will be joining the program sometime in the next 2 weeks.
Okay, there you go. All right. So it was the former, not the latter. Okay, cool. Can't wait to talk to Coach Beamer about the Gamecocks. It's going to be awesome. So talked about how Saraya and Toni Storm are being turned heel. And my question for you is, does that mean Dr. Britt Baker and the DMD and Jamie Hayter now automatically become babyface? So if you're in the middle of a feud and you start turning one team heel when the other team was the heel, do they automatically have to turn to babyface?
First off, and
Hikaru Shida, by the way, is going to get she's finally going to get a spotlight out of this whole thing, which is really cool.
First off, and this is why I jumped on the AEW wagon at the beginning. First off, do you have to blank? Is not a question that I want to ask. It's not a question I think it makes sense in wrestling. Just like in this industry, anybody can turn heel, and anybody can turn their back on you at any given minute, and anybody can shock you by saying something publicly about you that absolutely stuns you and turns them heel in your opinion. Wrestling is an extension, a caricature of real life. So if you turn one, do you have to turn? No. In fact, some of the best feuds of all time are heel v heel, right? You don't get a ton of babyface v babyface. Sometimes you do. It's usually more one-offs. Some of the best rivalries of all time are two heels trying to out-heel each other, and it's fantastic. I don't think you have to do anything, and that is why every time we get a new storyline that comes out in AEW, I get very excited about it, because they have shown in the past that they are willing to break what is tradition in professional wrestling in order to tell stories that I go, yeah, I get that. I've seen that happen in my life. And that's when it's at its best.
Well, I hope this is a storyline that they continue. I was talking while you were out of the room how Saraya came back into wrestling and thought that she would get the kind of pop that, you know, a babyface pop, and she didn't get it. And people don't like her attitude. So the smart move creatively was to turn her heel.
Well,
And which kind of was happening anyway because of how the AEW crowds are reacting to her.
with the there were a couple of things. I think people were very excited to see her back, but I think it was less about Saraya is a Charlotte or a Becky or a Britt Baker, Dr. Britt Baker DMD or anything like that. And it was more, we're almost always going to cheer for a wrestler who gets told their career's over and then they're able to make a comeback, right? When Edge came back at that Royal Rumble, it was one of the biggest pops of all time. When the Hardy Boys showed up at WrestleMania and New Day introduced them, one of the biggest pops of all time. When Stone Cold came out and got into it with KO, one of the biggest pops of all time. The problem, and you know, I hate saying this because I respect somebody who loves the business as much as she does, is that she's just not that entertaining. She was great in WWE as Paige, but that was because she was surrounded by other great characters who were storytellers who helped to make her character make sense. When she came back as Paige, her first promo as a wrestler, not her return promo, but her first promo as a wrestler getting set up to go into a feud with Britt Baker was bad. Your name rhymes with the S word. What are we, kindergartners? Come on, this is terrible. It was a bad promo. She had a very slow match, and granted, first one back, it's understandable, but a bad match with Dr. Britt Baker DMD, who has put on some bangers in AEW over the years. One of the things you have to be successful at to be a good wrestler, Lonzo, is just being a good wrestler.
Yeah, that does. It kind of helps. There are some people who get away with not being good wrestlers like Hulk Hogan, but when your persona is bigger than your ability to wrestle, then you can get over. But with her, not so much. One last thing as we go to break. Cody Rhodes announced he will be back at the Royal Rumble. Good idea or bad idea for him to go ahead and say, hey, I'm going to be back?
Well, I mean, WWE's putting out 3-minute promos every Raw.
They're good. They're
Rhodes.
good promos, by the way.
Look, they're great promos. First off, you've had a lot of guys who have announced comebacks in the Rumble that you were like, why wouldn't you make them a surprise entrant? But again, and I'm going to ride this for a while, Cody Rhodes is the biggest coup over AEW that WWE's had. They're going to promote the hell out of that as a, hey, if the guy who started that company left it to come here, shouldn't you too? That's the coup. That's the move. And I got no problem with them promoting that because they're right to do it. Let's take a break, come back, wrap up this show on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. That is exactly correct, Joe. Saraya came back and did not look ready to be back.
And she still does.
And I'm talking about on the mic as well as in the ring.
No,
right?
I
If
agree.
she comes back and it takes her 4, 5, 6 matches to get back up to speed as a good wrestler, that's one thing. But if you can't wrestle and you know you're coming back, what's the one thing you can do? Work on promos. Work on getting on the mic and being entertaining. When she came back, I knew she was in trouble. When Dr. Britt Baker DMD dropped the Saraya, or whatever your name is, and she went, yeah, we're talking about names. Well, your name rhymes with poop. It's like, that's bad, dude. If a male wrestler dropped that line, we would laugh him out of the ring, right? We are still making fun of Roman for when he called Sheamus tater tots, right? Like, it was so dumb. The key to being a good wrestler, I know it sounds dumb and simple. It's kind of a it is what it is comment, but the key to being a good wrestler is being a good wrestler. And you had that long off knowing you were going to come back to learn how to cut a great promo, and you came in and you cut crap out of the gate. That's just a bad look. Yes. Oh, that was it. Suffering succotash. That's what Roman said. That was so dumb. He literally said suffering succotash. And not as a joke. Look, cutting promos is not easy.
Sounds pretty funny to me. I'm sure I saw it, but you know, it's not that memorable as to hold it against him.
It was dumb. Listen.
Talk about me holding a grudge.
Cutting And I love Roman. I love Roman. Hey, Pensacola in the house. I love my dude. But that was bad, man.
Someone quotes a cartoon cat, and
It's not that you did it. It's how you did it. You can quote cartoons and be hilarious, but to drop it in a very serious promo, right? What if, could you imagine if you and I were having a very serious conversation about some problems going on the station, and I just looked at you and I was like, Jinkies? You'd be like, what? What are you talking about?
well, my style is I would let you finish the conversation before I mentioned
Correct,
that.
but then you would make fun of it.
Yes, I would.
Correct, even if we were being dead serious. Speaking of serious, that was
You've already gave it away when you sit
Fair.
down.
Fair. It's on the stream. I'm sure our competition's not listening. That was the SID at South Carolina who told me to get him dates and times so he can line something up with Coach.
Kevin, someday I'm going to meet you. And I have a headlock noogie coming your way. Headlock noogie right here. And I don't like to touch people, but I'm willing to give you one of those. And I live on the compound with guards and dogs and squirrels and animals. It's not what he meant, James. And Kevin, I know where Woodruff is. I haven't rolled through Woodruff in a while, actually.
Woodruff.
We're not really fighting, are we? I mean, because, there's no sense in that. Everybody knows Woodruff. Except for Rob. Rob's never been in Woodruff.
I don't think I have, honestly.
I don't know. Technically, is Burns in Woodruff? It's
Burns
pretty.
is in,
it's kind of. Hang
on, I'm looking up Woodruff.
No, not Burns. Dorman. I'm sorry, Dorman.
I have been in Dorman, but I've only been to Dorman.
Yeah, Dorman. I think technically is in Woodruff.
Is Woodruff so I'm looking at Woodruff looks like it's got kind of like a little old downtown vibe to it. Is Woodruff a place worth going to spend a few hours?
No. No, it's not. I mean, not for you anyway.
That's not fair. They got to have a good little dive bar in Woodruff, right?
Well, I'm sure they do, and other people have pointed out that no, it's not a good spot for you.
First off, I want to know what that means, but second off, I just looked up Woodruff. We were talking to Kevin on the stream. He says he's from Woodruff. I just looked up Woodruff, and they have a place called the Country Meat Center, which looks like a full old school butchery. Yes, please.
Okay, so it's not. Hey, let's meet up
at the Country Meat Center.
Yeah, I just
You ever been to a real butcher shop?
Yes.
The best.
And the other thing is, there's nothing wrong with Woodruff. It's just another small town. It just is, and you're high class, high society, so small towns probably don't work for you.
My number one question about Woodruff was, do they have a dive bar?
I was gonna say, unless you wear your cowboy hat, then you'll probably be all right.
Secret cowboy.
All right, time for Twitter trending topics. The first thing that is trending is Trevor Lawrence.
TL16 may have made a slight miscalculation as TL16 has issued some comments regarding Arrowhead Stadium, where he will be playing some football. He said that he can't imagine that Arrowhead, quote, will be much louder than Jacksonville, end quote. Trevor, I have never been to Arrowhead Stadium. I have been to TIAA Bank. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that even at its best, Arrowhead probably could close the upper bowl and still be louder than Jacksonville. I love TL16. I am pulling for TL16. I believe, the only person on this station who said that they truly believe TL16 would be, if it wasn't for Urban Meyer, a playoff quarterback in his first 2 years. He did it even with Urban Meyer. He did it. But TL, this is what, and I'm sure you've heard the phrase bulletin board material before, TL. The folks at Arrowhead don't need a reason to GATA, my guy. They just don't.
It's going to be loud Saturday. It's going to be really loud. It's going to be hard for you to hear, Trevor. Definitely going to be hard for you to hear. All right. We got time for one more. Boston Dynamics is trending.
Because another robot video is
Dude,
out.
That's so freaky.
In which, in this one, there's a guy working on top of scaffolding. One of those weird robots walks over, picks up a tool bag from the ground, moves a plank of wood to give himself a ramp to walk between scaffolding, throws the bag up to the guy, and then does like a double twist McFlip off the scaffold and lands, and then fist pumps himself.
We all going to die.
I want one. I'm
still not.
Hey,
I'm still not certain that you aren't one. I think you are one.
Baby Skynet, bring me a beer from the fridge and then fist pump like Tiger Woods when you do.
And you would call it Baby Skynet.
I
You
would call it
absolutely
Baby
would.
Skynet. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for us. We're back tomorrow to do it all over again on the Friday edition of the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later, brother.
So they have kangaroo meat there at that meat place.
Never had kangaroo.
You haven't? You should go to Saskatoons. I've had kangaroo.
I
before.
was going to say, I was going to ask about that. I haven't been there. We drove past it the other day. It's one of those places that I absolutely want to go. But whenever Courtney says, where do you want to go for dinner? It never pops into my brain.
I've also had emu there.
I've had emu. I've had ostrich.
Yeah, I've had some other stuff there. But it's been like a decade since I've been there. But it's been around forever.
Kangaroo.
Yeah, ribs.
Really?
Yeah, kangaroo
Are they
ribs.
like that big?
No, they're not as big as you think, but they come out. It's a rack of ribs, and you look at it and go, yeah, that's kangaroo,
kangaroo.
ribs.
I
Yeah,
want like one of those Fred Flintstone rack of ribs, you know? Thanks for watching, guys. Y'all are fantastic. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a lovely rest of your Thursday. You're the best. Goodbye.